And this little thing of, not putting the trash bag on right. And that goes in it, not only just like living with a girlfriend or
just having roommates, really.
Having roommates or work too, same thing, right? Like how many times at work do I have to tell you to wipe down the bottles and you don't do it? And I'm like, odd that I know it drives you crazy, but
See, I at least spray mine.
Clearly, it's a little thing though. It's like, oh, okay, if that's driving Smalls crazy, let's just do that because that's what drives him crazy.
Yeah,
that means you care a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm like, why don't you pull any money and sell anything? That drives me crazy. And I understand that's a skill issue, not a will issue. Like, yeah. So that drives me crazy. But I'm like, all right, we can work with that. But me just not spraying down the bottles is me deliberately like, fuck you or whatever, however you want to look at it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And those are two different things. If you can't do something, I can teach you. But if you're deliberately have the ability to do it and you're not doing it, then that's another issue. Yeah. And that's where I think we're in a relationship even too. It's like, okay, if you can't reach the top shelf to put the peanut butter away, I get that because you're 4'7" and I'm 4'9" and we can't always reach the top shelves. Not all of us are like 7'2" like Doug, but if I can, I'm just not doing it and I'm leaving it on the counter. I'm leaving my pizza box on the counter. Then okay, well, that's a different issue. So,
and especially, and it piles up over time.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing worse than cleaning up after someone. Like some people love cleaning, but majority of people don't.
That just goes back to communication. You're not communicating then.
Yeah.
Like my ex and I.
Like, how was your guys' living situation? Like,
how was it?
Yeah. Like, how did you guys do when you lived together for the first time when you moved in? Pretty compatible, like.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's one thing I learned is I'm very organized. I wouldn't say I'm the cleanest, but I'm very organized. Like my cups need to be like this, that kind of thing. And like kitchen table, I don't want nothing on a kitchen table.
I know that drives me crazy.
It drives me nuts. And she would always put all her papers and stuff like that. And when we're going to school, but she learned, okay, that's just that one thing that drives you nuts. So I'm going to do that. I even had my area, like my office was. That was my very clean, organized thing. And then she could have another area where it wasn't organized or whatever.
Sure.
It's just little stuff that's easy to deal with,
Yeah. But I think a lot of people probably do communicate. And I don't know if there's like just stubbornness or pridefulness and that other person, like they just ignore it or they don't see it. You know what I mean?
Or like, I agree. Or like I said, too, it's a matter of importance in your hierarchy of importance. And you just don't think that their needs are important to you. So that's why you neglect them. And if it's as something as keeping the dining room table clean or picking up your socks in the bathroom or whatever, it's just little stuff like that. Like that
goes with in like any relationship.
Yeah.
Like even friends, if I care about you, I'm going to listen to you.
Right. Even with having roommates, dude, I've been lucky with the roommates I've gotten here, but I've had some shitty roommates before, for sure.
I'm
sure you've had a lot of roommates.
I mean, I don't know if I've had a fair share of roommates, but I haven't had like a ton. I've had a lot of roommates for long periods of time. And there's quirks, and like my roommate now, I lived with all through undergrad, and after college we lived together with some other people, and I took her in when she was going through a breakup, and I'm like, okay, well, this is what we'll do. But now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I'm kind of ready to live alone again.
Yeah,
and I'm almost like, I wish she would move out. So, I would never tell her this, but I'd be like, yeah, it'd be fine if you moved out. I don't wish you to move out, but it would be fine if you moved out. I could do this on my own. I mean, our rent's not expensive. I would have way more room for activities than,
you can have sex in every room when you bring someone over.
I mean, I do that already.
Okay.
No, I haven't had sex in a long time, so I don't know. Doug, you're looking pretty good over there.
Thanks. I've still been working out, dude. All quarantine. Gyms are closed. I wanted a weighted vest, resistance bands. A lot of people gained weight, dude. I fucking lost weight. I did a sober month even because I felt like I was drinking way too much. Yeah.
I put on some pounds, but not like I've seen some people that have been like, what happened to you in the 6 months? I'm like, I put on like 4 pounds, and I'm like, just weighing myself from, when I was in New York to now. I'm like, okay, I put on like 4 or 5 pounds, and I can easily lose that. And I'm like, you put on like a quarantine 30. Like, what were you doing?
This is going to make me sound like an asshole, but I wasn't the most attractive guy. I didn't really get a lot of girls when I was high school. I was a late blossom, you know what I mean?
A late bloomer?
Yeah. I was a late bloomer. I'm sorry. I love it. I love it when I see some girl that used to be super hot that I went to high school with at the Army of Worms, and she's just fat now. And she talks about how great I look. And it's happened a lot. Like, it does.
So that makes you feel good now?
It does. Goddamn right it does. Like,
I mean.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, You gotta take it in. You know what I mean? It's good. You gotta have some ego about you to build some sort of confidence.
Yeah, I would.
Right?
I would agree with that, but I
know,
also
there's
don't.
a balance in it, but
Yeah, but I mean,
because back then,
the ego is you worried about what somebody thinks about you, right?
Yeah,
So why?
kind of.
yeah.
No,
I don't have to have an ego. I don't really give a fuck what you think, really.
No, I don't either, and I
You know,
don't
unless
really
we have a
care what.
relationship.
Yeah, and I also don't really care. Like you used to be hot, now you're not. Whether it's I don't know what it could be. You know what I'm saying? It could just be going.
well,
through
I think it goes
puberty
to show
or
how
weight
many
gain
people
or-
like don't really take care of themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as they get older.
I mean, that could be part of it, but I also am not gonna look at you and be like, "Well, ha ha ha!" Like, look at you now.
Yeah,
kind
like
of
I said,
thing.
no, it sounds kind of like an asshole thing to me to say. Like I'll be like.
I mean,
I'll agree with that. Like, I won't lie. No, I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely a dick thing for me to say like that. But I think it's, I mean, it's because, like, I guess I have some spitefulness in me, too.
Yeah.
Because of the way I was treated back then.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I understand.
So, like, I think of how I was treated back then by, these certain amount of people. And then here we are, 12 years later in life. I'm like, well, at least I'm not the fucking kid that peaked in high school like this person was,
Yeah, true.
Like,
I'm still waiting to peak, so I don't know.
yeah. Well, see,
Mine's never gonna happen.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still waiting to peak too, and I think I feel like you should, whether you've peaked or not, whatever the fuck that even means, like you should never feel like you already did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always feel like I'm still peaking isn't even a fucking thing for me. You know what I mean? I feel like I can always kind of get better. Sure, you maybe plateau for a little bit in life, but you can get back up there. Stop climbing back up the mountain eventually.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's definitely like always room for improvement and growth, whether it's from a mental aspect or from a physical aspect that you take. You take your physical aspect very serious, and it's like, there's still room for growth for you, and you'll never peak in that and be like, okay, I can always press or I can always push for bigger, better PRs.
Yeah.
Or stuff like that. And same with like the mental capacity. It's like, okay, I graduated from college. Now I'm going to push myself to do grad school. And, I hope to never have to do any more education. But I'm like, who knows? Maybe 5 years down the road, I'm like, I'm going to go back and get my doctorate. And be like, I mean, I hope that's never the case, but
Yeah.
you never know.
But you might want to do it just because you're bored. Like, that's why I'm in school right now. Like, because when August came around and I wasn't working, you know what I mean? Well, I had money saved up. I was like, I gotta fucking do something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not gonna go back to a restaurant. You know what I mean? So that's why I signed up for online school. I fucking hate online school personally. I would actually rather be in the classroom. First of all, it's really fucking easy to cheat online. Like,
it depends what you're doing.
But you're cheating yourself.
yeah, well, you're cheating yourself and like,
but that's what you're spending all that money.
Yeah, but
you're
that's
spending all that money for somebody else to do the work, and you're not getting the fruit to your labor out of it. You know what I'm saying?
So
you're not learning anything.
Yeah, so I still do all the homework and all the assignments and whatnot. You know what I mean? But dude, okay, Quizlet. You guys are familiar with that website?
No.
So I don't know where these teachers get their curriculum from, but some of these, they'll be like, and they'll say it like, teachers aren't dumb. The school understands. Like, okay, if we're doing online school, anyone can do whatever the fuck they want. So like, they'll say, hey, this is an open note, kind of test shit. But for my PC architecture class, when we take a quiz in that, it's an open note quiz. They say all that. There's this website called Quizlet, and they will literally have word for word, question for question in order going down. And I'm just thinking now, the students, you got to have some integrity. Because like I said, I'll still do all the reading. I'll do all the homework. And even when I'm taking these quizzes or tests, I'll put my answer in, you know what I mean? And then I'll go use my notes or whatever to see if I was right. No. And then if I was wrong, it's change it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to if it's an open note quiz, you'd be dumb to not to.
Well, I think every quiz should be open note. Because that's how the real world works, right? I'm not going to ask you to do something in the real world and be like, all right, well, you can't use any resources or you can't use anything.
And you bring up a really good topic that we going on for hours about, because I don't believe taking a test, like if you do bad in a test, that doesn't mean you're a dumbass. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people that, dude, if you give me a fucking test and I had to sit down, dude, I get anxiety. You know what I mean? I wasn't that good of a student. You know what I mean? I know that happens to a lot of fucking people. There's probably a lot of really smart.
You're a bad student. That's
hold on. There's probably really a lot of smart kids that they just freeze up when they take tests and they fucking bomb it. They're not dumb. They feel like so under pressure, like they're under that microscope during that time. And so I know there's been studies about like how much does like a test actually reflect someone's intelligence, about something. Because you make a good point, dude. When you're out in the real world doing these jobs, dude, everyone's got one of these with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand so learning the subject matter, and I'll use, let's use statistics for example. I understand learning the long way of how to write an ANOVA table or use, other stuff. I can't think of even an ANOVA table, for example, like analysis of variance, right? Mm-hmm. And why that's important and learning the principle and the theory behind it. But in the real world, I have Excel to do that for me, and I can put in all my information, and Excel will print out an ANOVA table for me. So I think learning the theory or the practice or the principle behind something is good, but tests don't really show your application of it. They just show what you can memorize of it.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Absolutely.
And that's where, to your point, where people get anxiety, and it's they're just racking from memorization, not principal application.
Right.
And I think if you're going to test people, principal application needs to be more important than what you can remember.
Absolutely.
And that's the difference, I would say, the difference between undergrad and graduate school, where it's everything we do in grad school isn't test-based, or nothing is. It's all paper and application. And this last 8 weeks, which was super tough for me, is all application of stuff I researched. And I'm going to remember that far more than I am, how to write an ANOVA table from a stats class, or figuring out, the annual percentage rate on this yield like I took in finance classes, because I have calculators for that. And I have, resource material that I can look up and be like, okay, this is how you do this. I can do anything I want with resource material. Yep. I can become a DJ and learn how to run the application.
Yeah.
But
that's intelligence.
And it shows that you can do some thinking and you can absorb knowledge. Like if you do get one of these jobs where you get put out in the field and you kind of you maybe hit a wall, that you're able to go to resources on your phone, look it up, and then kind of teach yourself how to do it in the moment. Not everyone can do that. It sounds easy, but it's not. Not everyone has that.
I would say that's really easy, actually. Yeah. And I don't know who can't do that.
You'd be surprised, dude. Because I feel like I'm the type of person, I can watch a YouTube video for about anything nowadays.